Maranello is burning, not from fire, from truth. Juan Pablo Montoya has just dropped a statement so brutal, so precise, that it's ripped through Ferrari's carefully constructed narrative like a blade through silk. Lewis Hamilton called his Ferrari journey a nightmare. Ferrari's president told him to talk less. And now, an outside voice with real authority has connected every single piece of the puzzle. The conclusion? Devastating. Because the problem isn't the 7-time world champion sitting in that red cockpit. The problem is the team that recruited him and then refused to rise to his level. Let's rewind to Brazil. The Brazilian Grand Prix wasn't just another bad weekend. It was a collapse that exposed fractures Ferrari had been hiding for months. Hamilton's radio crackled with frustration. The car felt unpredictable. The strategy felt reactive. And when the dust settled, Hamilton didn't sugarcoat it. He called it a nightmare. But instead of absorbing that feedback, Ferrari's president, John Elkann, went public with a response that stunned the paddock. He told Hamilton and Charles Leclerc to talk less, to focus, to perform. The message was clear. The drivers were the problem, but that was just the start. Because earlier in the season, Hamilton had done something remarkable. He submitted detailed technical documents to Ferrari's leadership, not complaints, not criticism. A blueprint, years of championship experience distilled into actionable improvements, the kind of insight most teams would kill for. Ferrari's response? Reportedly, they took offense. And this is where the story gets dark. Montoya saw all of this unfold, and when he finally spoke, he didn't hold back. He said Hamilton isn't struggling because he's past his peak. He's struggling because Ferrari hasn't given him the structure, the trust, or the technical foundation he needs to perform at his true level. Translation? Hamilton is pushing harder than Ferrari understands, and the team isn't matching that intensity. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Montoya believes Hamilton could become unstoppable at Ferrari. Not nostalgically, not metaphorically, genuinely unstoppable in the present. But only if Ferrari finally aligns behind him with the same energy he's giving them. That sounds simple. Logical even, except Ferrari's leadership seems to have misread Hamilton's intentions completely. When he offered constructive feedback, they saw criticism. When he showed frustration, they saw weakness. When he spoke honestly, they told him to stay silent. And that tells you everything about Ferrari's internal communication problem, because Hamilton wasn't attacking the team. He was trying to lift them. Montoya recognized this instantly. He pointed out that a driver like Hamilton performs best when communication flows freely, when leadership is aligned with him, not policing him. By publicly scolding the drivers right after a disastrous weekend, Elkann didn't motivate the team. He deepened the divide. Here's the truth Ferrari doesn't want to admit. The SF25 has flashes of speed, but its performance window is narrow. Its behavior is unpredictable. Its development direction is inconsistent. Hamilton felt those limitations from race 1. Montoya argues that such a car forces a driver into survival mode, not championship mode. And when leadership blames the drivers rather than the machinery, it signals a lack of self-awareness that hurts morale on every level of the organization. Then came the financial narrative. Pundits like Leo Torini referenced Hamilton's reported salary, €2.5 million per weekend, and suggested he wasn't delivering enough to justify it. The criticism spiraled. Social media amplified it, and suddenly, Hamilton's price tag became a weapon against him. Montoya dismissed that narrative immediately. He said, "No amount of money changes the fundamental truth. If the car lacks consistency, reliability, and competitive structure, no driver can rescue a season alone, not even a 7-time world champion." The criticism, Montoya insisted, should be aimed at the package. not the pilot. And that one statement reframed everything, because for the first time, an outside voice with credibility confirmed what engineers and analysts had quietly said for months. Ferrari's problems are systemic, not personal. So, what does this mean for Ferrari? First, the internal tension is now impossible to ignore. On one hand, Elkann wants to project strength and urgency. On the other, team principal Fred Vasseur is trying to rebuild the culture step by step. And caught between these two forces is Hamilton, pushing for progress while navigating the fallout of public criticism. Montoya's analysis makes one thing clear: the team cannot afford this internal friction. If Ferrari want to extract the maximum from Hamilton, they must streamline their leadership approach. They must restore trust. They must create an environment where feedback isn't mistaken for insult. Second, Hamilton's response to all of this has been telling. Instead of firing back publicly or inflaming the situation, he posted a message that carried quiet determination. I back my team. I back myself. I will not give up. That wasn't submission. That was resolve. And Montoya used this mindset as proof that Hamilton isn't the problem. The problem is the disconnect between a driver demanding excellence and a structure struggling to deliver it. Third, the paddock is watching, because if Ferrari can't figure this out, they risk wasting one of the greatest talents the sport has ever seen. But if they finally give Hamilton the tools he's asking for, Montoya believes the outcome is inevitable. Hamilton will dominate. So here's how this plays out. Scenario 1, Ferrari listens. They streamline their leadership. They give Hamilton the stable, responsive car he needs. And by mid-season, the 7-time world champion reminds everyone why he's called the greatest of all time. Maranello celebrates. The nightmare ends. Scenario 2, Ferrari doubles down on their current approach. They continue to blame the drivers. They ignore Montoya's warning. And Hamilton's final years in Formula One are defined not by glory, but by frustration. A legacy tarnished not by his decline, but by Ferrari's inability to rise. Scenario 3, Hamilton walks. Not immediately, but quietly. Gracefully, because champions know when a structure can't support their ambition, and when he does, Ferrari will spend the next decade wondering what could have been. But here's what nobody's talking about yet. What if Montoya's bombshell isn't just commentary? What if it's a test? Because Ferrari's next moves will reveal everything. Will they treat Hamilton like an outsider or like the cornerstone of their future? Will they embrace the experience he brings or recoil from it? One thing's certain, the pressure is no longer on Hamilton, it's on Maranello. If you made it this far, you already know. This season's not about who's fastest, it's about who's willing to change. So, tell me, can Ferrari evolve before it's too late, or is the nightmare just beginning?